me see.
Good evening. Sir?
Persons. Yes, Marsha, Marsha or Latanya.
Latanya.
Just said he's not going to make it to class today.
I didn't hear the name.
Giovanni, sir.
Giovanni. Okay. All right. Well, I sent the instructions for what we're gonna do today, so that should be a useful guide for him for his own practice and trying to catch up with what we are going to be doing. So as you would note, we are going to, for today is going to be a lot of interaction among you all as the participants. And the objective is really to go through at least one article and to use a checklist to evaluate what you're seeing from the article, all right? So all I'd suggest to Gio is just to follow the outline here, the activity sheet, look on RVLE, and then to see if he can do the exercise. I'm just going to give people a few more minutes before we start. Others join us. All right, so evening again, everyone. So as I had indicated, for tonight, much of the discussion is going to be among you as the participants interacting with each other. The focus of the activity will be an article as well as a checklist. So you will be going through an article using a checklist to evaluate the article, right? I have sent this activity sheet. Well, it has been posted on Orveli, the articles that were found for you, as well as other information, right? I want us to take note of this exercise because it is one of the purpose is to actually help you to start to focus your mind around your final piece of assessment. That's one. But it also will help us to cover, as I've indicated here, to cover the content or the rest of the content that should bring us up to the closing of the class, right? So we're not going finish tonight, but at least it will help to introduce things that we need to do. So for example, if you look on your course outline, you will see for next week that it speaks about things like data collection and data analysis and stuff. Based on what we're seeing in these articles tonight, we'll understand, hopefully next week, why it is that it's useful to do data analysis and exactly how. I hear in somebody's mic is open.
We'll get the party started and get us moving. See you later, boys.
Sophia, all right, let me do it myself.
Sorry, you called me?
Somebody's mic is open and disturbing the discussion. All right, I think I have all of them muted. I think so. Okay. All right. So I was saying for next week, we're going to touch on data analysis. And so I'll actually show you guys how to use quantitative software as well as qualitative or mixed methods. I'm still trying to get through to the contact in Mix. I don't know if anybody has been able to get the download of the software as yet. Is there any success with PSPP and QDA minor? No?
No, sir.
All right. If that doesn't happen, what I will have to do next week is simply to do a demo, and the class will watch. Not my preferred approach. I really wanted people to do while I'm doing, but we'll see how that goes. All right. So I want everybody to take a moment to try and find this activity sheet from Orville, right? After we've done the recap, note from the activity sheet, just some reminders here. So last week you did an assessment, a quiz, not an assessment, because I'm not gonna mark it, but a quiz. And so I've asked Olivine to post the preferred answers / responses to the items that you were introduced to, right? I started the marking and I say, you know what, probably a more efficient way is to just give you the answers now and then probably throughout the week I go back and actually put the grades there. But it is not gonna be counted as a part of your grade, all right? So take note of that. Just take note though, and if colleagues aren't here, please take note. I've been asking that people write in the discussion forum. That is going to be graded. So please make sure that you add to the discussion forum. So just to repeat, that is going to be graded. So I don't want anybody to be surprised about that. It is going to be graded, all right? I have also, as I'd sent samples of the project and this morning I went through and found the actual samples that I marked, the final samples that I marked with the comments and the grades. So that should help. So that was the one for last year. And I also found the set for the year before, which is the 2018 cohort, I think. Yeah, year 2020, so 2018 cohort. And I sent them. Those don't have any comments in them because I marked the physical papers, right? You will see some with comments, some without comments. I do hope that that will help give people a sense of what to expect, as well as a sense of the comments that I will give when the projects are submitted, if they're not meeting up to the guidelines or the criteria. All right. So I've deliberately sent them because I don't want anybody saying that, you know, they don't understand what to do and they weren't guided and stuff, right? So that should, I think, be adequate for now. Next week, I'm going to see if I can allocate some time to hear questions from persons. Please remember, you're not going to have a lot of time to do the project because you have exams and all sorts of crazy things happening, right? So it makes good sense to accelerate your project and probably get it out of the way before exam, right? I usually mark my scripts and stuff and send them back either before New Year's or very, very early into the new year. I want the same thing to happen. So make sure you do what you have to do. And then finally, for the last day, you are going to do another quiz. So last time people seem surprised. We have today, we have probably about 3 more classes, 2 more classes. Well, we have, this is it, 1, 2, 3. So after this class, we have 2 more classes, right? So on the last day, I'll give you a similar quiz like the last one, right? Similar in format, which will also try to get a sense of what you've covered in the course. So please continue to do your reading. All right, good. This activity sheet is up for you anytime that you want to. So even if you miss something that I said, it is documented and you always can go back and look at it, okay? All right, so Colette.
Yes, sir.
I want to take us through some of what we spoke about last week. So last week we started looking at mixed methods research, and I had some conversations around mixed methods, defining mixed methods, looking at what mixed methods is and what it isn't, looking at some advantages, disadvantages, and stuff. I wanted to take us through.
Okay, based on what I remember, as you said, we defined mixed methods, and what I get from the definition is that you would combine quantitative and qualitative methodologies into your research design to conduct a mixed methods research. They are, what do I remember again? I remember we spoke about you can decide how you want to approach it. So if you want to do a qualitative analysis, qualitative research at first, and then when you are doing your report, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but that is what I was getting out of it. When we're doing the final analysis, we can use a quantitative method of presenting the findings. And I remember that we said that with the mixed methods research, we put together people's lives, and we also use statistics when we're doing this type of research. And yes, and it combines, I remember I made a note about it combines the stories of people's lives, similar to a news report. So it combines the stories of people's lives and statistics to allow persons to understand what the phenomenon, exactly what is happening in the phenomenon or the particular situation or problem.
So if we're to talk about methods of data collection to collect those quantitative sets of data, what would some of those be?
All right, so with quantitative, so you would have like surveys and questionnaires.
What's the difference between surveys and questionnaires?
So I don't know.
Choose
The
somebody,
same like the same.
choose somebody to help you.
I choose Mr. McCullough to help me.
No, I
I don't
choose
know.
somebody from the class to help you. So the question on the table is, what's the difference between survey and questionnaires? So choose somebody to help you, call it. Pick on somebody.
I don't know, sir. I don't know who I should ask.
Who
Who wants to help me?
No, it's not who wants to. So there are 12 more people in this group. You have you, me, Olivine, XWO. You have 12 more people. So choose somebody.
Latanya, you want to help me?
Not particularly, but
Based
so
on Google, a
in
questionnaire is a written set of questions, while a survey is both a set of questions and the process of collecting, aggregating, and analyzing the responses from the question.
Who was that?
So like Sophie.
Yeah, that was me. I'm reading.
Turn back the mic on, Sophia. We lost you. We didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I said I'm reading from SurveyMonkey. It said a questionnaire is a written set of questions, while a survey is both a set of questions and the process of collecting, aggregating, analyzing the processes from those questions. Sorry, the responses from those.
So in a nutshell, what is that saying? Sophia, you've chipped out again.
Oh, sorry. The survey is not just the questions itself. It's about the process. It's about it goes further than just it's the answers from the questions, really analyzing the answers from the questions.
Okay, all right. This survey is really the method of data collection. The questionnaire is the instrument that you use to collect the data, right? So the survey is, or the questionnaire is the instrument, just like you're doing a test. So the test is the method of data collection, but you are actually, in order to do the test, you get a test paper, for example, right? So the test is the instrument, while the test paper is the instrument, while the test is the method of data collection, is the process that you go through. Yeah? So when I issue a test paper, that is the instrument that I'm using, right? It's a term that I see is confused, and some literature actually says serve a questionnaire, as a method of data collection, but it is really it is really the instrument that you use, right, in a survey. So for you, based on what you read from SurveyMonkey there, that is in essence what it is saying. The questionnaire is the instrument that is used in the survey to collect the data in a survey. Yeah?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's why Colette wanted you to explain it in the first place. That's right.
Yeah, but tell you what, you see, when I finish this course, when I'm not going to be carrying me around. Yeah, so you guys also need to be able to articulate these things. So if I always tell you, then it's going to defeat the purpose. Just like if you're looking at it qualitatively, so an interview is the data collection or the method of data collection, but your interview guide, for example, or your interview protocol is the instrument. So if you remember, I asked you people to develop an interview protocol or an interview guide. That is the instrument or the instrumentation that you would use to collect interview type data. If I'd said to you, conduct a focus group, that would be a method of data collection, but how would you collect it? What is the instrument that you'd use? You could use, for example, a focus group guide, right? So the focus group would be your instrument, while the focus group would be the method of data collection. Okay? All right. Nodian? Debbie?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Sorry, I'm late.
That's fine. Help us to recap what we did, some of what we did last week.
Sir, can you give me a minute to just collect my thoughts, please?
All right, Giselle. So Giselle, we're recapping some of what we spoke about last week, or some of what we saw in the readings and the videos and stuff. Help to bring us back.
Sir, I remembered in my breakout room session, we looked at the definitions, the various definitions of mixed methods and which one we found suitable. So I know there was one by John Creswell, and there was, I think, well, you brought to our attention the names of the person, the various researchers who we should focus on. I don't remember their names now, but those are current researchers who we can utilize when we're dealing with qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods research. I also
stick up in there. So they're really leading researchers, but not necessarily quantitative, qualitative. So there, in mixed methods, there are some persons who are leading mixed methods researchers. So you have persons like John Creswell, Anthony Awebuze, you have Bert Johnson, you have Pat Baisley, people like those. So the persons who I made reference to are leading mixed methods researchers.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah.
That's what I can remember now. And I guess in terms of definition for me, I know that mixed methods is the integration, which I think is a key terminology of the qualitative and quantitative research methods. Okay. So that's what I can recall right now.
Good. Denny.
Good day, sir.
Hey. Did your group watch the video?
Yes, sir. The one with the basketballer?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Could you remind us of the designs that John Creswell spoke about, in particular the basic designs?
Okay, well, based on the video, sir, it brought out the usefulness of mixed methods,
Mhm.
and it showed the real life importance of using it. Because with the basketballer, sir, it showed, and not just a basketballer, it showed a person reading the weather,
Mhm.
and then another person out in the field showing like an hurricane and interviewing persons. So it showed in terms of say quantitative, the weather forecaster like Roy Forster would tell you um, the precipitation, give you the raw data. So when you watch like the weather, you would get all of that quantitative data. But when a reporter is out there is reporting, you can actually see the live hurricane, such as the disaster that we are experiencing, the heavy rainfall. So you get two different views about the same situation. So you get the quantitative view and the qualitative view. So he did a study with somebody who had a bad experience, a sickness. So it's showing you that quantitative they couldn't administer that type of research because it wouldn't get the real life experience of somebody who has been through a serious sickness and survived. So you need that data. So sometimes the quantitative is not it can work in all situations because qualitative it is more specific. That's my understanding of it, sir.
All right, good.
So it's based on the situation you will use both, although you can use both qualitative and quantitative some in at, at other times, but sometimes you can't do it. But what I got from it, both of them are useful. And I use it right now. Is that growing up, you realize that persons have always been using it, but I didn't recognize until now. I couldn't separate the two, but now I can separate the two, sir.
All right. Thanks for that contribution, Denny. I wanted you to narrow in on a specific focus, though, which you didn't, and I'm gonna bring somebody else closer to it. Can we remember when we started talking about quantitative research, and I said that there are some designs, and you also saw them back on the quiz last week. So we said that if we're talking about quantitative research, we're saying that some basic designs could be descriptive, could be correlational, or we could broaden that to be relational, which could mean prediction or looking at correlations, or it could be causal comparative. So if we're talking about quantitative research, those are some of the common designs that are identified to quantitative research. If we're talking about qualitative research, then specific to designs, we could be talking about case studies, narratives, which Danny just spoke about. We could be talking about phenomenology, ethnography, and we could also be talking about grounded theory. So those are the qualitative research designs, right? In the video last week, John Creswell spoke about at least 6 mixed methods research design, and he put them, or he categorized them in 2 broad ways. So he spoke about basic designs and advanced designs. And if you remember, he was showing some actual examples of them, right? So who else was in group with Denny last week? Denny, tell me who else was in your group.
I think Tremaine.
Tremaine.
Yes.
Yes, because Tremaine, and I remember throwing Tremaine in group 1 and he felt so lonely. Yeah, so Tremaine, yes.
Greetings.
Yes, Tremaine. So what I wanted to help us with Tremaine is, do you recall the basic designs that John Cresswell spoke about?
All right, might those be the exploratory, the explanatory, and the congruent mixed methods?
You are right. So could you help us to kind of unravel what those designs are referring to?
All right, so what I recall is the explanatory. So you would start off with the quantitative, and then you move into the qualitative. The
But
exploratory.
hold on, don't move yet. But exactly what would you have to do?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Go again, please.
Exactly what would you have to do? So you said start off with quan, and then move to qual. You're right. Yeah.
Oh,
But
so
give me some specifics.
all right. So you would, for example, you'd have your. Let's say you decided to use the survey method to collect the data. What you would do is so it's kind of like you're moving from a more general to specific to drill down into finding out why persons responded a particular way. So you're developing more of a theory from it, is that correct? As to why persons, the reasoning behind the quantitative aspect of your findings.
Just say for now that the qualitative aspect helps to explain the quant.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So for the other type, what is your understanding?
So for the other one now, the exploratory, you would start off with the qualitative, and then you move to the quantitative. Particularly, there are times when the qualitative would help you to design a method to collect the data or an instrument. So you may be unsure of how exactly to go about discovering more information. For example, there may not be previous research on this, so you don't know necessarily how to go about collecting the data.
Tremaine.
Sir?
Tremaine, did you gather that only from the video?
To an extent, yes, and a little reading.
And a little reading. I'm proud of you.
Oh, yes, you are? Do I get a chocolate?
Probably after COVID, we probably can come together. That option is still available. Yeah, but you're right. All that you're saying is on point, and even to that last point, because when we use an exploratory sequential design, it is when oftentimes there's a little bit of unknown, right? And so an instrument or a questionnaire may not exist. And so a good starting place is to start qualitatively, gather some data, and then that data which you gather would then help you to create a questionnaire or an instrument to then do quantitative research. So there's a third which I won't ask you to explain, but I'll ask somebody else. But let me just clarify something, or to elaborate. So there is what is known as the explanatory sequential, and these things are important, guys. So take note that in the project that you're seeing, you are going to be required to articulate your design And in the appendices also include a diagram of your design. So note that that happened in, well, was supposed to happen in the projects. So if you're talking, and the design that you choose will also influence other things that you write, including what the title or how the title looks. Yes? Okay. So you could find a situation where you do an explanatory sequential design, or you choose an explanatory sequential design. And what that is saying is that you start off quantitatively, because oftentimes more than not, there is an instrument, there is a questionnaire available that will actually help you to collect data that you want to collect, albeit that you probably have to do some tweaking and stuff, right, to the questionnaire.
Sir.
Yes.
Oh, sorry to cut you, sir. What Tremaine just said and what you're saying cleared up a lot for me, sir. But could you give a real life example?
So let me just finish explain and then I come. So having collected the quantitative data, you would then have to analyze the data, right? And having analyzed the data, then that allows you to then decide where you will go qualitatively. So that is where, so the definitions that you've been reading that speaks about integration of both quan and qual, that is a point of integration, because when you have collected and analyzed the data and the results that you get from the quantitative data, that is part of what informs the direction that you take qualitatively. And then you start a whole process of collecting qualitative data, which means you have to develop your interview protocol and all of those things, and then do the interviews and then analyze the data. So as it says, it's a sequential approach. One precedes the other. The exploratory design is reverse, where you start qualitatively. So notice the word explore. So if you notice from previous conversations, we were using the word explore to suggest something qualitative. Yes? So with the exploratory sequential, you're starting out qualitatively. You collect that data, you analyze that data, and having done that, it puts you on a path to developing or designing a quantitative research instrument that you can then use or administer to a bigger or a broader population or a broader set of participants, right? So Denny, that was you asking for an example?
As what you and Tremaine said, I was struggling with that, sir. So I kind of understand it like on paper.
Okay. So let me give you an example. Take, for example, you want to do an employee engagement survey, right? Or you want to do a mixed methods research, and the area of focus is on employee engagement, right? There are employee engagement questionnaires that are available, right? So that's kind of one indication that you can start quantitatively, right? So all things being equal, you probably, and again, based on your research questions and stuff, you can choose a large enough population, a large enough sample, say probably 100, 150, 200, depending on your workforce, right? You can administer that instrument, collect the data, right? And analyze the data. right? And based on the results that you get, you may say, hold on, but you know, there's something that is still unexplained. And you say, okay, how do I get this explained? And so you can then move to asking people who were involved in that first process, that first quantitative data collection process, to then do interviews with you, one-on-one interviews, right? Or you could put focus groups together, right? And from those focus groups, you could then engage people in conversations, if that's your desire, and then analyze that qualitative data, right? Yes, Denny?
Yes, sir. So is a situation that you're dealing with that will determine which one you use?
That too. But as I just said, there are, so depending on what you're focusing on, there are research instruments out there. For example, I pulled articles on COVID. I have not gotten the chance to read through all of them because I pulled them like just this morning, but a part of my fascination is going to be what were the quantitative research instruments that were used, for example, and also the designs that were used for these studies, because COVID just started March, you know, right? Which means that these persons would have to be quick on the draw in terms of designing an instrument, testing the instrument for soundness and stuff, administering that instrument, collecting data, and then, you know, following up. So I'm very interested to see what is the instrumentation and more so the quantitative instruments that are going to be described in these articles, right? So it is one of the things I wanted to look out for, right? There may be instances when there is not an instrument or not a questionnaire, for example, that allows you to collect quantitative data. And as such, it is better for you to start out qualitatively and then move and then go quantitatively, right? So that's the difference with the two designs. One starts quantitatively and then ends up or then leads to a qualitative process, and that's the explanatory sequential. The other, or the reverse approach, starts qualitatively, where you collect qualitative type data, and that allows you to build, for example, a research instrument, right? Now, I said I was going to ask somebody else to explain the third basic design. So we've just spoke about two basic designs just now. The third that John Presser would have introduced is what is called a convergent or a concurrent design, right? So what that suggests is that we are collecting quantitative data and qualitative data at the same time. And the intention is to see whether or not the results and the findings converge, right? So we're doing the two things concurrently, which is why it is said to be a concurrent convergent design, because it is happening concurrently, and the intention is that the two data sets or the findings from the two data sets will converge, right? As opposed to doing it sequentially. So listen, concurrent versus sequential. Concurrent means that the two things have to happen at the same time. So quant and qual happen at the same time, as opposed to it being sequential, which means that either quant has to take place first and then qual, or qual first and then quant. That's important to note and understand and know for the designs, right? The final thing I'll say now, because I'm explaining it, but you guys are going to have to do some reading. The final thing I'll say is that based on John Creswell's philosophy, he describes the concurrent design as a one phase because it is happening concurrently. He describes the explanatory sequential as a two-phase approach, meaning that you collect quant data and then you move to qual. And he describes the exploratory as a three-phase because you first start qualitatively, you then develop an instrument or a questionnaire that is considered a phase in and of itself, because to develop a questionnaire or an instrument is not a simple process. You could actually do a PhD on developing an instrument, right? It takes a whole lot of validation and looking at consistency and all of those things, right? So that is considered a process in and of itself, because you do not want to do a real research with a bad instrument. It's a bad recipe. So it's almost like baking cake and bake the cake with spoiled flour or something else that is spoiled, right? You get a spoiled product. The quantitative data collection that comes after that whole process of testing and making sure that the instrument is sound is considered the third phase of that research. So the exploratory sequential is considered a three-phase approach. The explanatory is considered a two-phase, and the concurrent is referred to as a one-phase. That's how John Creswell describes it in the literature. All right, questions?
Yes, sir. I just want to tell me if this makes sense. So if you do the explanatory, sir, I mean, you could do the explanatory and the convergent together. And if you do the exploratory, you could do the exploratory and the convergent together. Based on one situation.
There are two different designs. So it's either that you're doing explanatory or you're doing concurrent.
Oh, so the convergent cannot work with the two, with any other two?
All right. So let me say that for you again, Denny. For the convergent, what you're doing is that you're doing quantitative and qualitative at the same time, right? I pause because I'm trying to find an example to use. So let me use.
You could use the census. So there is a data set, and then do some sort of research that you have taken out of that. Like you develop a research.
All right, so I want to use a very practical, practical thing that's probably I can do something there. So let me see if. All right, so let me use something in class. Say, for example, all right. So if you remember the exercise I did for the class, right? I could actually say I want to understand the learning experience of the class, right? The online learning experience of the class. And what I could actually have done is that I could have, if I found a research instrument, I could actually give, so say the class is the group that that is doing the experiment, that I'm using to do the experiment, right? Or the research. I could actually give the class a questionnaire to complete, which by questionnaire I'm talking about a quantitative process. And at the same time, don't necessarily mean the same day, but at the same time, I'm doing interviews, I'm collecting interview type data, right? And the intention is that whatever I get on whatever data I get from the questionnaires there should be something in the interview data when I'm finished analyzing it that should have some sameness or commonality, right? You follow me so far, Denny?
Yes, sir. Sort of.
So I administered an instrument to you, and I'm also interviewing you at the same time.
I get that, sir.
Right.
It's the sameness I don't get.
All right.
It's
So
the same
take,
set
for
of people,
example,
isn't it?
take, yes, Olivine?
I was asking, is it the same set of people?
Yes, it has to be the same set of people.
Yeah, so if I answered in the questionnaire that I answered X in the questionnaire to a certain question, I enjoy online classes more than face-to-face classes. You would expect me to say something like that in the interviews.
Let me broaden it. Let me broaden it, because you wouldn't be looking at the item, for example. So when I analyze the quantitative data, more than likely what would happen is that a higher percentage of the class may say, well, we don't like this online thing, you know, it just too, you know, messy and stuff. But also when I talk to people and when I look at what is being said, the general, you know, thought process of the group, I should also get, or I could also get from talking to people, the same sentiment that I got from analyzing the quantitative data. You follow me?
Yes, crystal clear now.
So the same thought, the same perception that I get from the class that says we don't like this online thing, it is not for us. Equally, when I look at the qualitative data, it is the same thing that is being expressed, that people don't like this online thing. So what has happened there is that the qualitative data and the quantitative data are saying the same thing. Yes?
Makes sense.
And is that clearer?
Yes, sir. It makes
Right.
a lot of sense. Thank you.
It does not always have to be that way, though. It does not always have to be that way, and a number of factors could actually cause it not to be. But that's the objective. That's the objective of doing a concurrent design, concurrent, convergent, because what it is actually saying is that we are probably expecting that there is some convergence of the two data sets, right? So that's part of the idea, to see if the two data sets converge. So that's one design. I could, however, decide that I'm going to do an exploratory process, which is exactly what I've set out to do. Because if you notice what I did, I first asked a set of you to send me voice notes. I could then move, having listened to voice notes, I could then move to interview you, right? Which is still qualitative. And from all of that, analyzing the data, and then I could then sit down and develop a questionnaire. So if my memory is serving me, I got qualitative data from at least 5 persons in the class. Now the class have how much? About 30 people, right? What I could then do is, having collected that data from the 5 persons, I could then sit down and develop an instrument or a questionnaire that I administer to the entire class, right? So I'm now taking a quantitative approach. Having taken a qualitative approach, analyze the data, I'm now moving to a quantitative approach to collect quantitative data. So what I just employed there is an exploratory sequential approach, because I started using a qualitative approach. I used that information that I received to then develop a research instrument or a questionnaire, which I then gave to the entire class to complete. Having completed that questionnaire, I'm going to look at the data, analyze the data, and then present quantitative findings, right? So that's an explanatory sequential. Now take note the word sequential. One has to happen before the other. So I had to do qualitative first before I could do the quantitative portion. But what if perchance I went and did some more research and I found an instrument or a questionnaire that I could have administered to the entire class that sought to find out your perception of online learning? I could have done that, yes? And so that would have actually been a quantitative process, me starting with a quantitative process. Having collected that data and analyzed it, I may still with what I get, or something may not be in that I want explained. And so what I could then do is to say, okay, you know what I'm going to do? You know, I was talking to Denny one day and I heard Denny, for example, saying, boy, you know, this online thing, X, Y, and Z. And I could purposely select Denny because I had some previous conversation and I knew how he felt about online learning, right? Or I could be watching Denny's WhatsApp status and seeing him talk all sorts of things about online learning and say, I need to talk to Denny, you know, kind of thing. Or I need to talk to Latanya. And so what that would suggest or would be saying is that I'm moving now from a quantitative approach into the qualitative realm. So again, take note, it is sequential quantitative portion before I can then do the qualitative portion. Sequential design. Is that any clearer?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank
great.
you.
All right. To you. Is it clear?
May I ask a question?
Debbie, sir?
Debbie.
Yes, sir. I think I'm processing it a little bit more than I did before.
What I want the entire class to do, so this will prevent you from reading. I want you guys to go back to that video that John Cresswell did.
Yes, sir.
And watch that video again, because to me that video really explains what the designs are, and it goes even further to explain for you the advanced designs, right? So in a sense, advanced designs are really built on top of the basic designs, the three basic designs that we just spoke about.
Yes,
right?
sir.
But first, it is important that you understand the basic designs. So the three basic designs, you have concurrent convergent, you have explanatory sequential, and you have exploratory sequential. Those are the three basic designs that John Cresswell speaks about, right? And others. Good?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think that's enough in terms of our conversation.
Can you just remind me one sec?
Rather further than I wanted, but continue, Olivine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was. Can you just remind me why you say that exploratory is 3-phase, explanatory is 2-phase? Exploratory sequential is 3-phase. Yeah.
So the explanatory.
Okay.
The exploratory sequential means that we're starting qualitatively.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we collect the qualitative data, right?
Yes.
But having collected the qualitative data, we then have to move into a phase of designing a questionnaire
Yes.
right? And that questionnaire design, as I've spoken about it before, so even for practicum, it is not exactly something that I suggest, because even with my PhD, I've seen that and my supervisor challenged me about something, but I just waiting to have a real conversation with her, because she is asking something about a process that I explained, but what I had to do, even though I adopted instruments, I actually had to go through a process of testing for cultural relevance. And so in going through that testing process, I had to do things like confirmatory factor analysis and all of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And looking at validity and reliability and stuff to ensure that I wasn't questioned too much about the credibility or the stability of the instruments that I used to do the research.
Yes.
Because the truth is that these are newish instruments that have been tested in other places but not tested here in the Caribbean or even Jamaica. But our context is different, cultural and otherwise. So I had to go through that process of rigor to make sure that I could explain and defend the quality of the instrument that I use to collect the data that would then inform the rest of the research. So that process, Olivine, of piloting the instrument, so developing the instrument, piloting the instrument to make sure that you have a sound, sturdy instrument, which also means testing for the reliability, testing for the validity of the instrument, for example, right, is considered that second phase. So that instrument development and looking for the psychometric properties and stuff is a second phase.
Okay, and we're not at quantitative yet.
We're not at the quantitative yet.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We're not at the quantitative in the sense of looking at the main study. That second phase is part of the quantitative because you'll be piloting the instrument itself, the quantitative instruments as a part of quantitative. But that instrument that we're piloting, we couldn't dare use it unless we are certain that it can stand to the test.
Okay, okay.
So I want to see it as part of that quantitative element, that kind of bridge that is moving into the quantitative. But the point is that we can't use it in anything and be very sure or defend it, right?
Okay.
When we are certain that the instrument that we're going to use to collect the data is one that is sturdy and stable and has all the relevant or at least some of the most critical psychometric properties, then we can move into that third phase of what we call the main research.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I used the example earlier of you baking, right?
Yeah.
You gather all your ingredients as well as the things that you're going to use to bake. So you have your stove, your baking tin, and all the ingredients and stuff. But if you use flour with weevil in it, everything is going to go down the drain because it's going to have a bad taste. And so your instrument, yeah, or if you don't grease the baking tin properly, it's trouble. So that is kind of the second phase, yeah. The third phase could be the baking. Mm-hmm. So the point I'm making is that your instrument or your instrumentation phase is the second phase that has to be done properly. Which is why I said to you, for example, Olivine, that students going out on practicum and designing instrument and using that same instrument to collect data, we have to be careful. Mm-hmm. It is probably better that they can find instruments that have been tested and proven and stuff. So instruments, for example, like if we're doing self-esteem and whatever, Rosenberg and stuff, those are instruments that are tested and proven. Personality instruments and stuff, those are tested and proven. Yeah? Yeah. But there are some that have not gone through the test of time. But whether in different places and stuff, and so you have, and so that could be part of the limitation to a study.
But in doing explanatory sequential, you pick up a questionnaire that you assume, but because what you're suggesting then, all right, because you're suggesting then that we already know that the instrument that we're using in explanatory is fit for purpose, because we wouldn't have done all that instrumentation work in using that. Because what I'm saying is then how you come to 2 phases for explanatory.
The thing about it is that and I just made mention, for example, of using, if we look at some of the personality tests, for example, or if we're looking at like some of the self-esteem scales and stuff, or if you're looking at locus of control and stuff, there are some instruments that you can rely on.
Yes, there's some gold standard instruments.
Right, some gold standard instruments, right? But still, there are some that you have to go through that process of piloting and stuff. It still does not require, in my estimation, that much rigor as if you're actually starting to build the instrument from scratch.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So if you're starting from a qualitative perspective and just collecting information and building instrument from scratch, it is much more work than looking at that, than identifying an instrument that would have gone through the test, but probably would not have been normed in your own jurisdiction.
Yes, I can accept that. Yeah, I can accept
less
that.
work.
And so it is the lack of, it's the lack of the amount of work that you have to do that is eliminating a whole phase. Okay. All right. Okay, I can accept that.
Yeah. So hence, which is why for the explanatory it is considered a 2-phase, because there probably may not be too much focus on that piloting stage, even though when I started, for example, in my PhD, I piloted the quantitative instrument and I also piloted the qualitative instruments. In earlier times, I thought that piloting qualitative instruments was foolishness, but I've come to recognize that it is something that is necessary, because you could have a whole host of questions, for example, or questions that people can't understand or are misfocused and stuff. And in doing the pilot, you then recognize that, one, I have to tweak the questions, or I have too many questions, and so time is going to run out on me. So all of those things help in that qualitative piloting phase.
That's true. Yeah, because you'll be collecting data that you don't really want to, and not getting what you need. Yeah. What
you need, right? So for me, piloting both quantitatively and qualitatively makes sense.
All right. Yeah, I can accept that. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So listen, people, I really went far past what I thought of, but for me, it is useful. It is useful to have you understand some of these things, and not just for the purpose. Now we know that some of you have greater intentions to do other study, right? To do PhD and all of those nice things. And so for us, this is a useful mode of preparation for you to start thinking through some of these things, right? Yes. Olivine, I know from this group, from this cohort, you're gonna get some real good, candidates for PhD.
I know, and I actually spoke to one today.
Yeah. But I'll be somewhere to help whomever wants, such help. Yeah. All right. So let us take the break, and what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna actually put you in breakout groups, or the rooms, right? So I'm gonna create 7 rooms, right? And you join the room, and then after your break, then you will convene. What I may have to do is to have us just focus on a part of the article for today. So we probably can look, using the checklist, we can look at, for example, from item 1 to 16 to 15. So title, abstract, main text of the article, right? And then hopefully next week we can go back in the same breakout room and then continue to review the articles, or you can review them. Well, let us use the class time because I know you have other things to do. I'm doing this though, guys, because as I said at the beginning, for those of you who didn't catch that conversation, it is going to be a useful practice for you for your final assessment, right? So make good use of this experience, looking at the checklist, looking at articles, critiquing articles, look at what is present in the articles, look at what is not present in the articles, but using a checklist as your guide, right? So I say I'm going to create breakout rooms. You, based on the group that you're in, so if you're in group 1, you will note that from the list of stuff, the articles, you will actually see at the beginning, it says group 1, mixed methods, da, da, da. So if you find yourself in group 1, that's the article that you need to read, the one that says group 1. If you're in group 2, the one that you read is the one that says group 3, and down the line. If you're in group 7, you'll choose the one that is in group. You'll have to do the one that is labeled group 7. Clear?
Crystal.
Okay, great. All right. So for the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to set the time to probably say 40 minutes, or probably should be more. Probably let me set it to an hour because you're going to need your break time and then some talking time and then coming back together. So I'm going to set it for 60 minutes, okay? All right. So 7 breakout rooms, automatically assign, create the option. Okay. All right, so the rooms have been created, 60 minutes, which includes your break time. So after your break time, you go in your group and then talk about the article, use a checklist. And then when the 60 minutes would have been up, we're gonna come back. I'm gonna go through the different rooms and talk to you in the meantime. All right, so I hope you had a good, rich discussion there. Well, the beginning of our good or rich discussion, because as you know, recognize, you start wetting your feet and a lot of conversations actually start. Now, if you didn't join the class early enough, just take note that I said that the purpose for doing this is to get you to begin to start understanding where the numbers have dwindled, okay, a little bit, to get you to start understanding the direction in which your final assessment is going to go, right? So for your final assessment, it's a similar thing that you will be required to do, right? We're going to critique an article, right, and write about it, right? You're going to use the same checklist, right?
So that again, sir?
So for your final assessment, you're going to be getting something similar to this, right? You're going to use the same checklist. You're going to use the same checklist, and you're going to go through a similar process to critique an article. This time it is on your own.
Oh my, look at that.
Yes, so it's going to be on your own. So which is why we're having these conversations now. So Marsha, we just found something in your group that was, I think, was interesting, right? But also came back to some of the conversations we were having earlier. Right? All right, so let me take the persons who were in group 1 and your article. So let me just project your article. Share screen. All right, so this was the article.
But, sorry, sir, is one question we get in the exam?
Not necessarily. I haven't quite agreed on how much. I'm thinking that you're gonna get an article review, something like a case study, and you could get mixed up multiple choice short answer, something like that. I haven't quite figured it out. Yeah. But I know for sure that I'm gonna give you something.
Oh boy.
So a part of it is also thinking through, yeah, applying that critical thinking skill. So looking at the checklist and saying, okay, am I seeing this? Am I not seeing this? So let us use group 1, for example, right? So group 1, you take it away.
Okay, sir, based on
was Denny.
Sophia Latoya. Okay, sir. So based on the checklist wants to know if the title of the article indicated the method being used, and as you can clearly see, it definitely, that is the, it began with stating the method used for used in the research.
But is it method or methodology?
Methodology.
Right, because it's two different things, you know. So the first thing here is actually checking to see if you're seeing evidence of the methodology, whether it is a qual, or a mixed research. So I'm hearing that you're seeing evidence of the methodology.
Yes, sir. It's
clearly
states it's
clearly
a mixed.
States that.
Yes, in the very first line. Look at that.
I could ask another question. What about the number of words? Are you satisfied with the number of words?
Yes, it is.
How many words there? How many words you get there?
How many words in total? In the head, in the
title.
The title? No.
Count them.
Roughly 30, sir.
Okay. What does AP say about the wording of your title?
I don't remember, sir. Latoya, then you remember?
I think something 100,
no, I don't
100, and 150.
Denny, you're passing bad word in our class. That's the abstract. That's the abstract, not the title. The title should be shorter, Papa. Can't be so much. Should be shorter.
So it has to be under how many words?
Should be about 12 words.
Oh wow. Okay.
Somewhere about there.
So this is way too much. But that wasn't in the checklist.
So no, it's not in the checklist. I just pointing out something to you guys, just for general knowledge. So it's one of the things I want you guys to go back and look at. So AP has a kind of prescription for the number of words that are found in a research title. So it is one of the intricate things that you have to look at when you're writing a title. For example, a research title in mixed methods research. are looking around because just give me 1 minute. Let me go for my crystal. Just 1 minute. Yeah, so even with your project, that's something that I'm going to be looking for. So let me just read for you what Cresswell says about research title, which is why you guys need this text. Yeah. Find it. Okay. So Cresswell says here. Just find the exact. Okay, so he says, so the heading is the working title. Starting with the title may seem like a strange place to begin. However, I view the title as a major placeholder in the study. Now, notice a placeholder, it is not fixed, but it's a placeholder. I sometimes don't like when people start with a title because they get fixed on the title. Your title is subject to change even up to the point of submission of a research, right? But he goes on to say it's a focus, if you will, for the entire project. Taking a stand on the title is therefore an essential part of the beginning of the design of the study. Now notice design, the word design comes back here. So if you look at this title, are you seeing design in it?
Yes.
It don't necessarily mean that the design must be specific in the title, you know, but it's hinting at it, right? So if you notice, also one a multiple choice question asks about what does it the research problem statement talk about, and it or is suggesting, and it's about it being emergent. Right? So it goes on. Cresswell goes on to say, taking a stand on a title is therefore an essential part of the beginning of the study. Granted, the title will change and shift over time as the project becomes more and more clearly defined and focused. There are several key elements that must be included in a good mixed methods title. One, the topic being addressed must be there. The participants in the study. The word mixed methods to denote the methodology being used. And 4, neutral language. So at least at the outset, that does not lean to the study neither to a quantitative or qualitative orientation. So stay away from words that convey a qualitative leaning such as explore, meaning, or discover. Also, stay away from words that convey a quantitative orientation, such as relationship, correlation, explanation. The goal is to compose a neutral title, since mixed methods resides between quantitative and qualitative research.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, keep the title short, say under 10 words, and perhaps use a 2-part title separated by a colon. Quantitative and qualitative research may be mentioned in the title, and then he gives some examples. So when you're writing a title, there are a mixed methods research title, there are some specific things that you look for, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, this one speaks about a mixed methods research, right? But if I were to project this one, are you seeing this one?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So notice what happens here. You see the colon?
Yes, sir.
A mixed methods approach. Look at this one. Colon and mixed methods study. So this is what Cresswell is actually talking about.
Yeah.
Now notice this one does say though impact of, and the word impact there suggests quantitative.
Yeah.
But
so sorry, you can't say exploring.
Hold on. Okay. Impact there could suggest quantitative, but you could also talk to people about the impact of COVID. So hence, notice the difference there, because impact could be understood quantitatively and qualitatively, right? Just like you could talk to people about the effect of something and also measure the effect. This one is a little bit different. A mixed method, hold on. A mixed method study of individuals. Again, this could be arranged differently, right? So for this one, somebody's asking. So for this one, it says impact of COVID-19 pandemic on stress and emotion reaction in Israel. So what I'm saying is that you can measure quantitatively impact as well as you can talk to people about the impact. You can interview people about the impact that COVID has had on them. Okay. Which is why I'm thinking that this author and this actually got published, because you could do both using in a mixed methods research. Yeah. All right. So let me go back to group 1. So you've established that the title is fine-ish because you see some methodological contribution there. Is that what you're saying?
All right.
Okay. All right. Group 2. This is Marsha's group.
Yes, sir. Debbie speaking. So, and I'm just gonna say what we said to you first, so that the class can see the process that we had gone through. At a glance, we thought qualitative. The title alluded to the methodology being qualitative because it spoke to perspective of gaining the perspective of individuals. We also thought to ourselves, effects of COVID-19 could also be considered quantitative. How would you say it again, sir?
Because of the variables.
Because of the variables, the fact that you have an independent and a dependent variable, right? But then, so I guess the answer to the question is that it alludes to it being qualitative, but I don't think it is clear. Would that be correct, sir?
I would express it that way because I hear talking about variables as well, but I'd be hard pressed, well, let me not say hard pressed, from the perspective of digitalization and workplace balance. Now, if you examine this title carefully, I'm seeing COVID-19 as something that you can, but is it somebody's perception? So the word effect here though, the word effect here, just like we saw impact there a while ago, you could actually talk to somebody about the effect that COVID has had on HR. And so that is exactly what took place here. So they interviewed people, I would suggest, and asked them about, in the interviews, about the effects of COVID on HR. Yeah? So they didn't seek to measure it quantitatively. It was through that process of talking to people, interviewing and stuff, through an inquiry process, that they then sought to understand what was the effect COVID had on people.
We got that later on after reading, and that's why I'm kind of I'm kind of if I'm to look at just the title and make a determination, then I could possibly make a wrong determination.
But in its strictest and clearest sense, though, a properly written quantitative, if we want to define quantitative, would have to be better structured. So you're better able to see the independent and dependent variables jumping out on you.
Okay.
Because, like, for example, it says the effects of COVID on human resource management, but what about human resource management? The efficiency of human resource management, what?
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, human resource management is just broad.
Yeah.
Is it on the process of human resource management? What?
Okay.
Right? So human resource management here, I wouldn't identify it as a variable per se. If it said the effect of COVID-19 on male and female HR practitioners, then I could better argue that, yeah, male and female is leaning towards variables. So those I'm seeing are some variables, right? Yeah, yeah. So the point to note, though, is that the title some of the times help us to figure out what is the methodology that is being used, but it could also throw us off.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And hence, which is why the abstract is useful. Yeah. All right. There is no group 2, 3, but nevertheless, let's just look at this one collectively. Right? So Marsha and Latoya, this is also one that you guys can actually then, you know, if you want to really look at a mixed methods article for next week, then, or to continue a mixed methods article, this is one that you guys can use. Right?
Sorry, you had just reminded you had said that you wanted to show the class an example of a qualitative research. No, of the whole sequential
explanatory
sequential design.
Okay.
With the explanation of the right.
So let me just quickly point the group to what we found. Right? At the end. So what they did was that they started qualitatively, and then for future research, they are suggesting.
Pastor, go back down.
Right there.
Right. So at the end of the research, huh? It's right here.
Right there. Future research.
For future research, they are suggesting that they would now develop a questionnaire. Yeah, or a questionnaire should be developed. So earlier the conversation was about doing an exploratory sequential mixed methods design. So reading through the lines, this is what this person is suggesting. So they're suggesting converting this thing into a mixed methods by developing a questionnaire. See it? But it only appears at the end. So also it is clear here is that they did not do a mixed methods, but they are suggesting or they're implying a mixed methods. So that's one of the other things is some of the times you'll find that an article was deliberately done as a mixed methods, and some of the times it will emerge. So you may start qualitatively and then recognize, this can turn into a mixed methods, or you may start quantitatively and then look at it and say, there's something that is still unexplained, there's something that's still unknown. And so you go further to do a qualitative. So it can emerge, a mixed methods research can actually emerge. And some of the times it is the intention at the beginning of the process to do mixed. Now and I listen a lot of beginning students defend, for example, when they're defending a PhD, well, not defend a PhD, but they're defending the proposal for a PhD, say that they're doing a mixed methods. And I oftentimes ask them, so what is the reason for doing a mixed methods? Is it because it sounds sexy to say mixed methods, or do you really identify that this study is worth a mixed methods? Because the truth is that it can just be quan or qual, and it ends there, right? So you must have a strong justification as to why you would want to mix that research, right? That's important. All right, so Marsha and Latoya is actually saying that you can choose Article 3 for next week. I just realized I have a little challenge here because I did not capture who was in which group. So next week when I come back and I'm supposed to probably put you back in group, I'm gonna have that challenge. But so just remember which group you're in this week. Just take note of that. All right, so let me help you with this one. Even though this one is a little bit clearer because it says identifying impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on vulnerable population, a mixed methods approach. So based on what Cresswell had said, this is clear that this first portion here, where it actually tells you what the methodology is, here it speaks about identifying impacts of, and I'm suspecting that they did both quan and qual. What isn't clear here to me is the design, whether or not they started quan or qual. So that isn't clear from the research title itself, right? What I think I like though is the fact that the word count is short. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So this is nice and crisp, as opposed to a long title. So this one would meet FETA's criteria there of a title, which says the title directly or sufficiently alludes to the methodological contribution of the article. It says mixed methods, right? Who had 4? Group 4, who are ones in group 4? Group 4 people?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
How did you check this one? How did you vote?
Well, sir, we indicated that for number 1, the title sufficiently alluded to the methodology. I have a challenge calling that word, methodological contribution of the article.
Okay, why so?
Because it indicates specifically that it's a mixed methods study.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the word count is fine, sir. It's not too wordy. About 30. Mm-hmm.
About 30. Okay. All right. But do you see though that this word impact jumps out again?
Yes, sir, it does. Yes, sir. But where has it can imply correlation. It also makes room for you to ask open-ended questions and to get answers from which you can develop a theme for qualitative analysis.
Good observation. So the takeaway there is that even though there are some words that are methodology specific, you also have to read them in context when you're looking at a research title, for example, or when you're framing a research title, right? That's important. So I'd give this title a passing grade 2, short and nice and crisp. And you can read it off your lips. Who had group 5? Who was in group 5?
Hi, sir. Regarding the title, well, my other colleague, she had internet issues, so it was just really me alone in the group. So I would say that this title, it directly indicates the type of methodology because it specifically states that it's a mixed methods study. I'm not sure what your other questions are.
Yes, so I looked, but based on the others we've seen though, just from saying that mixed methods, but what critique would you offer to the title itself?
I don't know, the first line restates the remaining unknowns. So it could mean anything.
But does that add anything to the title though? The remaining unknowns?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I guess it's pretty clear in terms of it saying that it's looking at past and current and future aspects as it relates to the research for COVID-19. So maybe that part is not really necessary in the title.
Right. So again, this is how I want you guys to be looking at this thing and critiquing it. So if you were to reframe the title or rephrase the title, what would you suggest?
I guess I would just say a mixed methods approach of the current and global health research priorities for COVID-19.
All right. So just before I give you my suggestion, do we not understand how, for example, the word count matters and we can be a little bit crisper with the word count and get it down? So if I were to rephrase this, I probably would say something like current and global health research priorities for COVID-19, a mixed method study.
Okay,
So that
okay,
where
sir.
current is current and global health research priorities for COVID-19, a mixed method study.
Okay, sir.
In somewhere in the article itself, you could speak to the unknowns. Yeah.
Sir, you could probably even take out the mixed method too, because a lot of times you explain that in the first paragraph anyway.
No, but just to be clear, so if you remember what I just read for you earlier, based on what Cresswell was suggesting, and also what
Sir, where did you get that that you read? I want it that you read.
So it is in this book. Yeah. So this is the prescribed text from your course outline, right? So Cresswell is actually saying that when you're writing a mixed methods title, there's something to look for, and that at the end that says the semicolon.
Which page was that, sir? Sorry to cut you.
Page 12. Page 12.
Thank you very much, sir. Sorry for breaking you.
So this
Okay,
book
thank
talks
you.
about steps in designing mixed methods, and it talks about the working title, identifying a problem statement or the issue for study, indicating the intent, general research questions, specifying the type of data collection methods and the analysis, identifying the reasons for mixed methods, considering and including the world view, discuss and the theoretical discussions, defining mixed methods, choosing the mixed methods design, drawing the figure, consider the methodological and validity issues of the study, writing the mixed methods, study aim and purpose, and then adding the research questions, blah, blah, blah. Right? So it gives you a nice rundown of what you should think about. Right? So I'd rephrase this title. I'd rephrase this title to get it crisper, sharper, right, and to the point. Group 6.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us.
Well, as you were saying earlier, for this, I think the title could be rephrased. But if you're going off the checklist, I think it directly indicates the methodology.
Mm-hmm. So it implies.
Yes.
Having browsed this though, what discovery did you make? This article?
To be honest, I read bits and pieces of it.
Mm-hmm. But I gave you guys a hint as to what it is. Did you read, as you scan through bits and pieces of it, did you note that it is suggesting that it could be a proposal?
No, I didn't get that from it.
So let us look through to see something. The aim is to rapidly collect key information across a range of, unless it is a bad, and as I said, I didn't read all of it. But unless the article is badly written, the tense should tell you something. So our aim is to. Now, if you look over the other column, or objectives are to. So it is right, it is suggesting proposal language. Study design, in order to achieve our aims and objectives, we plan and have started an adaptive longitudinal. Yeah. So it seems it is not yet done, right? Are you seeing that?
Yes, sir.
Right. Population or sample will be the main aim of this quantitative arm of the adaptive research is to, right? The survey sample, the survey for sample 1 and sample 3 will be completed primarily by phone, right? So those are some of the language I was asking you for, because this language is suggesting something to come. Descriptive statistical analysis will be used. Okay?
Yes.
The aim, So it is suggesting, it seemed to me a proposal that is being put forward than a research that was done, which is also, and by the way, for what you guys are doing, you will note that it speaks about different aspects. So it speaks about the participant, design, all of those things, but it is written in what? The future tense. So that's important. That's important. For what you guys have to do for your coursework assignment is a proposal. Please remember, it is a proposal. It is not a research. There's a difference with a research. A research is something that has been done. A proposal is something that you're putting forward. So to use a very practical example, it's almost like somebody said they want to marry to you. The wedding or anything not happen, then just propose, right? No wedding not take place. It is just a proposal. Them can change their mind, right? So it's the same process that you're going through. You're proposing something. You're not doing anything. You're making a proposal. So always keep that in the back of your mind while you're writing your project, that you're going to write in future tense rather than past tense. So I'm going to be looking out for things like those as well. You can't write in past tense because you've not yet done the research. You're suggesting things that you will do. All right. So just take note of that. All right. So group 7, quickly. What do you come up with?
Sorry. I thought Janine was gonna talk. Why are you laughing? Well, we think that this is a good topic. Not too many words. I guess it's structured okay. And the how the question asked again. Sorry, sir. The methodological contribution is explicitly stated because it did say a mixed method study. So that's for question 1, sir. Jermaine, you have anything to add?
You're fine with the title as it is.
Yes.
Yeah, because also, sir, it give who we're looking at. So looking at individual, couple, and parental, and the location.
I'm glad you picked up that because, and also the location, right? And it speaks about the functioning. Well, it will be interesting to find out how they operationalize the term functioning, right? So individual, couples, and parental functioning. It would seem, what are the roles and probably what are some of the things that they do, kind of thing. I don't know how they operationalize the word functioning there, but that is the thing that is at research, that is being researched there. Whatever that functioning is, how they function, it seems, through state-regulated COVID lockdown. Yeah, so I don't know if that means surviving, coping, what?
I think it's more like coping, sir, because it speaks about psychological distress and I think breakdown, families breakdown, something like that. But I think it's
let me see the couple. I'm looking at the keyword couple, family, lockdown, quarantine, COVID-19. But that word functioning, but here it speaks again. Relationship. Predictors of relationship functioning varied substantially with household parenting status. Telecommunicating and employment facilities conjugal functioning only for couples with children. Oh, I don't know. I probably need to read the article some more because this word, this is the word functioning that they're studying though. Here it comes again, relationship functioning. and co-parental functions. It would have been nice though. Did you guys see them operationalize what they talk, the word functioning? Tremaine?
No, not really.
Not really, sir.
Because that's important, you know, for us to understand when they use that term functioning, exactly what is it that they're referring to. Because if they're going to design an instrument, for example, an instrument was developed, we need to understand what that word functioning is and how they're measuring quantitatively that word functioning. Lockdown lens that that is individual and family functioning. All right. So they keep mentioning the word, but I don't know what it means. All right. It's 9:02. So I would encourage you guys to get very personal with these things. So continue to use this checklist to, and please note that pages 418, 419, and 420 does explain for you in a little bit more depth what the items on 417 are referring to.
Sir, could you just say that one more time before you go?
So 418, 19, and 20 actually elaborates on the different items in 417. So if, for example, you look on 418, it says, does the article directly indicate blah, 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 and then it says, okay, the title will be read more than any other component in the manuscript. Titles are succinctly conveyed by the article's methodological contribution, which best catch the attention of the JMMR readers seeking information about the methodological topic or procedure. So one of the things I did, for example, as I did the search and scanned through, once I opened the article, I looked, for example, if the title said mixed methods. And that for me, I didn't even read the abstracts. That for me was a useful thing to say, okay, I'm going to choose this article. So this is what Fetters is actually saying as well, that the inclusion of the word mixed methods or the expression mixed methods gives the reader an indication that there is a fusion of both quan and qual that would have taken place in this research, or an intention of the fusion. So in Marshall's article, we saw that there is at least some intent to do some fusion eventually. Yeah, which is why I think it came up in the search as a mixed methods article. Now, as soon release about just one thing to take note of, I don't see it in this one. I was looking in the bottom of the abstract. Usually you will see the abstract having keywords, and the keywords will actually also indicate the research methodology. It's not in this one either. Let me see if it's in this one. This one doesn't have any keyword. But usually, well, let me not say usually, but you will, see this one, mixed methods. Let me see this one. This one also has mixed methods in it. Let me see what group one. This one doesn't have mixed methods in it. So some of the times you'll find in the keywords, the research methodology is mentioned. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna break or call it quits for the night. If anybody wants to hang around and ask questions, you are free. I'll stay around for about 15 minutes. 10, 15 minutes. Okay. All right, so as I said, please continue to love up this checklist and the article that you're reading, kind of thing, right? I don't know, I may find a brand new article or I may just use one of these. I don't know yet, but for sure, you're gonna use a checklist, for sure.
I think these articles are too long for exam. And
No. So listen, you're not going to be doing it in 3 hours. You're gonna get time. You're gonna get time, like days, to sit down and work it out.
Oh, I think that's much better.
Okay, because the email today says they're all online exams, so I was a bit confused.
Yeah, but remember, you can still do it online. So you're not going in an exam center to do it.
Yeah.
Right? But what it still means is that you will get it to do, you will do it and then submit it to a portal, and you'll have a deadline to submit it. So you won't have all the time in the world to do it. You will get it administered and they'll say, okay, you need to do it within a day, 2 days, 3 days, and you have to upload it by a certain time. If you don't upload it by a certain time, then you've missed your chance.
Okay,
as it is now, the universities all over recognize instability. So like my online course, I have 1 week in which to sit the exam. Once I open it though, that's it. But I have all the chance in the world, or the time in the world, to make sure that I'm somewhere where I have stable internet connection. I'm very much prepared and stuff. There, you have some exams that actually you can open it and then pause it and then go and do what you have to do and go back and continue and stuff. Right? For you, you'll get time. So it won't be like 3 hours or whatever. You get some time. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Take care.
All right. Good night, sir. Bye.
Yeah, man. All right. Good. Good
night, everybody.
Yeah, man.
Night.
Take care, Marshall.
All right.
Sir?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I noticed that you while you were speaking, you indicated that we can find an instrument, and I'm referring to the quantitative aspect of the research, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that we can find an instrument that is already prepared by someone, or we would have to prepare our own questionnaire?
No, man. So are you talking for the project or you're talking just general?
For the project.
Oh, no. So for the project, you, and again, it depends on what is it that you're looking at, right? Because if you're able to so I've for example had groups. So if, and I'm going to use like employee satisfaction, for example.
Yes.
There's several satisfaction scales about the place, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you could go on the internet and search for an employee satisfaction scale and find it. And then when you read, you can probably can also search for a journal article about the development of an employee satisfaction scale, and it gives you information about the psychometric properties. So let me use one that I'm familiar with, and you are familiar with too. You have like Myers-Briggs personality test.
Yes, sir, I know that one.
Right? Or the Big Five personality test. Now, there are articles out there that have been written about the whole development and testing of those articles. And they tell you which articles are supposed, which items are supposed to reverse coded and stuff. But those tests have been around for a while, and they have been used by people in different countries, right? And people write about the process of developing or actually administering those instruments. You can find a whole heap of articles around them, right?
Okay.
So what that would mean is that if you're looking at HR professionals' personality type, for example, personality traits, you wouldn't have to go and be Christine Columbus and develop a personality traits instrument, because that is already developed for you. All you have to do is brush off one and use it.
Okay.
Right? But you may find that what your area of interest is something that is under-researched, or there's no instrument that was developed for it.
And in that case, we would have to do what?
In that case, you would have to do some qualitative work.
Okay.
Yeah? Because
Okay.
you can't just pull this thing out of thin air. It's either you're going to have to review literature.
Okay, so we would be taking it from an exploratory sequential approach. Okay.
So if you notice the article that Marshall's group had.
Yes, sir.
They started out qualitatively, and then they did the research, and then they're suggesting that what can now happen is that they can use that to then develop a questionnaire.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to spend some time and browse through the article some more, because as I was saying to one other group, part of what I'm unsure of, and you can also just do double check, part of what I'm unsure of, if anyone says that they are using an explanatory sequential approach, my antennas would go up.
Oh.
Because my question is, okay, so where did they find that instrument? What was the process that they used to develop a questionnaire? And not only develop the questionnaire, but what is the rigor of that questionnaire? What time did they have to go through all of that rigor to ensure the questionnaire is sound enough to be able to do research? Yeah, from COVID start till now. Probably I noticed the difference, because the coronavirus has been around. So it could be an instrument that was developed for coronavirus and not necessarily this particular strain that is upon us. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Right. So you may very much find instruments that are out there which you have to tweak. And so when you're looking through, these are things that you did not look for or look out for.
Okay, sir. Okay.
All right, good.
Thanks for your time, sir.
Yeah, man. Good. Always.
Bye.
Yeah, man. Good.